Hey, Doug Giles here, Warriors and Wildmen. Rich! How you doing, big dog?
Doug, good to talk to you, man. It's been fired up talking to you this morning already. I'm excited about Warriors and Wildmen this morning.
Woohoo! I'm excited too, man. And I got a great topic. It's going to be something that, when we're talking Warriors and Wildmen, everybody's always thinking like, we're going to be talking about farting, we're going to be talking about scratching our bellies, and we're going to be talking about monster trucks and killing stuff. And okay. I love all of especially my farts. I don't like other people's farts. But man, when I, after, eating sunflower seeds and like beef jerky and then having like 6 fried eggs, nothing like it.
Doug,
absolutely nothing like it. People run through plate glass doors hiding themselves.
I have to tell you about a review of our podcast that I hadn't told you about before.
Oh, here we go.
It wasn't online.
Yeah.
It wasn't from a combatant.
Uh-huh.
It was in person from my mom.
Oh, no, here it comes.
And I said, have you guys been checking out the podcast? And my mom says,
I hate that Doug Giles, boy.
I listened to it. I started to listen to it. She goes, you guys are pretty rough. She said, it was too much for me. And my mom's laughing. And I said, oh, so she goes, no, I get it. It's for men. It's not for me. But my mom's a big fan. She loves you. She obviously loves me. She don't have a choice. But right. I think that's awesome. So just the beginning, the opening of that, it reminded me and thought, if my mom was listening to this, she's done listening to this.
I love you, Miss Whitmer. Hey, Rich, you know what this guy told me? He goes, and he's kind of a genteel type soul.
Yeah.
He goes, I really like it. He said, there's no way I could play it for my wife.
No.
And I was like, listen, man, we got a lot of, if you look at the demographics on our Facebook page, I think it's near 50-50 split,
There are a lot of women listening. It's true.
Oh God, yeah, man. You look at the comments and stuff, they're there and they're listening and we love it. But I said, okay, I get it, to some extent. I think, she needs to, kind of grow up a bit. However, my motto is that if people over 50 don't like it, we're probably accomplishing our goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're not, again, we're here to, and people will see very quickly here in a second, that's not all we're about. There is some substance.
Come on, there's some content, huh, Doug?
There's a little bit of substance in the slapstick.
Come on, somebody.
And we're about to put a big old spade in the dirt of your fallow ground.
Come on.
And sow some seeds, Rich, if you will,
of
some
sow
substance.
Some seeds of faith.
All right, so here we go. Rich, we're not going to talk about motorcycles. Not going to talk about monster trucks. Not going to talk about my favorite subject, smoking cigars. Not going to talk about hunting. Going to talk about right now, Warriors and Wildmen, being an encouragement to people. Hello.
Yeah.
And Rich, I'm telling you, brother, this came to me in such a real way this week. I'm going to parlay it here in a second, but let me just define for those who are unfamiliar with what it means to be an encourager. It means to put courage in, to encourage. So you take courage.
I like that.
And you got people that are freaking out, that are dealing with real situations. Turn and burn type, summit or plummet type crap. And like everybody, Rich, you know it, I know it, I'm going to confess to it. You get hit with fear. You get hit with terror. David said that, the terrors of the night would come and hit him. And what you need at that juncture is a lot of people around you who will put courage in you and eradicate that spirit of fear, which, by the way, Paul, via the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, said, God didn't give you that fearful spirit.
Right.
We need encouragers, man.
He gave you a spirit of power. Come on, somebody.
When we're on the field and we got the bat in our hand, man, can you remember your brother or your dad or your mom in the stands like, nail that son of a monkey out of the park. Do it, Rich. Smack it. Hit it. Come on. And pumping you up, and you're like,
Well,
running the bases.
it wasn't really like that. My dad had a different way of motivating. I cracked a
Hey, it
bone in
worked.
my foot playing baseball, and my dad yells out there and says, "Stop limping."
Right.
It's like, all right, it's
Hey,
just
if
crack.
you want sympathy, it's in the dictionary between shit and syphilis.
But that actually is a form of encouragement, right?
Bro,
It really is.
No, if you're talking about making your son a man, that is encouragement.
But that also
if-
inspires you. My
bite
dad's
your
a
lip, man.
protector. He's not gonna let me do something that's gonna hurt myself in the long run, But when they tell you that, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Here's something that, we're talking about the topic on encouragement today for the Warriors and Wildmen. And, we're trying to craft through the podcast and through all of the swag that's upcoming in our premium site, men who would be men. And again, there's the cartoon version of the stuff that I alluded to in the opening. There's the classic version of provider, protector, hunter, and hero. And what I want to convey, and what Rich is trying to convey also during this show, is that one aspect of a guy being a guy is that he's able to encourage and hearten and strengthen all the people that are around him. Because like I said, man, we are all ants on this blue marble. We're dealing with crap. We have discouragement. We have goals. We have dreams. We have holy grails we want to chase. And in order to do that kind of stuff, man, it takes some deep, deep resolve that sometimes, man, we run short of. And that's why people who are encouragers are worth their weight in frickin' gold, man.
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting, Doug, is here's the facts that we as men don't like to admit, that we need help. We'd like to think we can do it all by ourselves, but here's the problem, man. God didn't design us to do it by yourself, and anything that you can do by yourself probably isn't worth doing anyway. Anything that's going to be something that's big, that's going to make an impact or do something, is going to require the help of God, and by his design, it's going to require the help of somebody else. Maybe not on your actual project or what you're going through, but as you as a person, like what you're talking about, coming alongside and being that friend that sticks closer than a brother, that helps you in those times so you can do what you can do. We're not made to do it by ourselves.
And, one of the interesting things about what you just said about a friend who sticks closer than a brother, you really don't know who your friends are or who your brothers are until they have the opportunity to abandon you and be unfaithful to you.
Come on. And you know what? This I know this is cliche. It's a common saying, but they say, you'll know who your real friends are. They're the ones who are walking in when everyone else is walking out. And that's a fact, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, look, there's people that you shouldn't encourage that are doing unrighteous stuff.
Yep.
But there's a lot of good in a lot of people that God has hardwired them with. There's a lot of ideas and visions that I believe sit on shelves just basically because of fear or lack of encouragement. And, I want our Warriors and Wild Men to be known for all of those grand masculine traits.
Yeah.
The goofy, cartoonish stuff, that's fun to laugh at. But can you imagine, Rich, if through our podcast is that we unleashed guys that not only just provided for their house, which is great, and protected their house, which is, no duh, and were heroic and all that other good stuff. But you could look to each one of these men and the women who are listening as frickin' dynamos of encouragement, where they jack strength into you via their words and their actions. To me, from this self-obsessed me monkey type generation that focuses solely on themselves, and to get to where you are focusing on others and bringing them, to 100 miles an hour with their hair on fire. To me, that's pure gold. I can die a peaceful death knowing that, hey, God, we taught people and we encourage and exhorted,
we inspired somebody
and provoke them.
Yeah, provoke.
To
that's
this
a good
kind
word.
of good deed.
Yeah.
So there's three sources of encouragement as far as my redneck brain can pick out here, Rich, in this planet. And number one's God. And folks, you gotta get your God is the source. If you're looking to Rich and I, for help all the time, we're going to be there. But we'll
also disappoint you. Promise you that.
Absolutely, man. The text isn't going to be returned. Phone call's not going to be returned for many, many reasons why. Who knows? But you got to get to a place where, like David said, he goes, "I encourage myself in God." David, I think, is one of the greatest protagonists as somebody who's able to jack himself up in faith and in God and get into this realm probably like nobody else aside from, Paul and, Jesus, of course. But it was pretty interesting how he would self-encourage.
Yep. That's awesome stuff. I don't know if I told you this story before, Doug, but when I first started my church, I was 31 years old. Yeah, 31. And I thought for sure there'd be 500 people there in the first month. People would be lining up. Guess what? That didn't happen. And so I was sitting in my office and I was feeling sorry for myself. And I was like, God, why did you? And I lived in the desert. And I said, God, why did you bring me? I can't believe I did this. Why did you bring me out into the desert to kill me?
At least you're quoting scripture.
I know. I literally was talking like I was an Israelite that just came out of Egypt, and I was sad that I was out because I didn't know what to do. Right. So
I just have this manna to eat.
Yeah. So I was pretty bummed out. So I walked from my office and I was going over to this coffee shop. As I was walking by the coffee shop, I see my reflection in the window, and I'm hunched over. I'm so disgusted, Doug. I'm hunched over and look so defeated. And I looked at my reflection and I thought, that is disgusting. I was embarrassed. I literally turned, looked at myself in the window, Doug. I started prophesying over myself. I'm not kidding. I started prophesying every verse that's ever been prophesied over me, every verse that I've held on to. I was standing there preaching, man. I was fired up and going crazy. And then that's when I noticed that on the other side of that window was an office full of people working. And they were all staring at me like I was a crazy person. They couldn't hear anything I was saying. And then I looked at all of them and I said, you don't know it yet, but I'm your pastor. And I preached myself happy. And I walked over and literally I wasn't like, hey, I'm going to do this great thing or I'm going to be like David. But literally in that moment, I saw myself and I got disgusted with myself. Sometimes we've got to see ourselves. But you know what? I can't even tell you the number of times, Doug, when I've had a friend that calls and says the right thing at the right time that was at least as valuable as that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, the source is obviously in God. And David, number two, you got to encourage yourself. There's God to encourage you. And then you got to, like you said, you did. You see yourself all slumped over like Eeyore on Winnie the Pooh with this dark cloud over your head.
I didn't even look that good that day.
Right. And you're like David. He said, he goes, why are you downcast, O my soul? Put your hope in God. David's talking to David.
David's talking to David.
Like, David.
And then he says,
what the heck you doing here, man?
I will yet praise you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And again, it's taken an objective position on your subjective self. And man, I'm telling you, if you don't do that, and you can't get a hold of somebody, you can't get a text reply, you don't have a pastor like Rich, you don't have buddies like the Warriors and Wildmen, you better know how to do that because the powers of darkness, and which Paul called a spirit of fear, is there to take you out, get you sidelined, get you stop dreaming, get you sitting over there in the little Christian Disneyland, pulling lint out of your navel.
But you got to be real.
Having a real little sad party. So obviously God is a source of encouragement. Obviously, you got to get to the place where you're able to box your own cheek and encourage yourself. And like you said, like Paul told Timothy, fight the good fight according to the prophecies that were giving to you and the laying on of my hands. And then third, where it comes to the message today, you got to get to where you have people around you that, like the writer of Hebrews said, that provoke you to love and good deeds. But you know what, Rich? Deeds. And correct me if I'm wrong, man, but most people aren't encouragers. Most of them are soul suckers, and they don't give a crap. They don't give a crap about encouraging anybody else. It's all about them.
I have a friend named Greg Johnson. He said this interesting thing. He said, I went looking for a friend, and I found none there. I went to be a friend, and I found friends everywhere. The truth is like you're saying, Doug, we don't need to just look for encouraging people to be our friend, but we need to be an encourager and be a better friend. A lot of people, they'll hear something like this, say, that's what I need. No, that's what you need to be. Because that's the goal of Warriors and Wildmen, that we would be better. Not that we're just looking, hey, everybody sucks, I wish I had better friends. That's stupid. If that's the purpose of the podcast, shut it down. It's so that we could be a better
Yeah.
friend. But we do want to be around people. We got to choose our friends. Obviously, that's part of
and
it.
You know what? Say you are in the needy side of the equation, to where you need what we're talking about from somebody else.
Yeah.
Whether it's the podcast or Rich or I or whomever. What I've found is that, man, if that's indeed what you need, then why don't you sow that, and you might reap it back from others.
Good.
So if you need, how many times have you been sick and you prayed for somebody to get healed and they did?
Yeah, that's right.
Instead of like, oh, pray for me. It's like, hey, man.
Smith Wigglesworth said that.
I'm feeling like crap, but you know what? Boom, in Jesus' name, get better.
Smith Wigglesworth was praying for tons of people that were getting healed, and he was sick as a dog, man. Kidney stones couldn't even move. That dude was sick.
Yeah, so when we're talking about encouraging people, and everybody's like, yes, that's what I need. I need encouragement. Encourage me. It's like, listen, you've got to move away from that, just like Rich said. You've got to understand our propensity and our proclivity to be self-obsessed me monkeys.
Yep.
So when we get around people, when we get around those who are heat-seeking missiles, who are who are dealing with the spirit of fear, or worry, or discouragement, anxiety, whatever, that you're there. It's instead of like, oh, hey, poor you, and you pet them on the head. You're there to like, hey, not on my watch, man.
Yeah.
How are we going to kick this thing into the stratosphere? What are we going to do to take this thing to the next level? That's what you got to be, instead of, again, that's what we're pushing. That's what we're promoting here. Let me give you an example, Rich. This is something. I know I sound like I'm rattling on too much, but this is how real it was this week for me. So I got obviously, I'm a artist and stuff, and I got this painting that I'm working on. And I get stuck in this painting, and I'm like working on it. I'm like, God, and it's not coming out. It ain't working. And I'm way out here in the country. I don't know if our neighbors, diddly squat about art. I've been to a couple of community parties, a couple of artists, mostly old ladies who make crafts and sell them at Michael's during a parking lot type thing. That's not what I do. And I'm stuck in this painting. So I go to Mary Margaret and I said, "What do you think about this painting?" She goes, "I think it kicks ass. I think it's great." It's like, I don't know, man. I think I'm just going to put it aside or re-gesso it and work on something else. And she's like, "No, it's good. It's really good." But that's Mary Margaret. She's a cheerleader,
right?
And she says that
that's what she does.
Yeah, I could vomit on a canvas. She's like, if you just got a palette knife and scraped it away from the edges, kind of swirled it a little bit, then boom, it's going to sell. So. I expect that from Mary Margaret. Regis, she comes in from Vegas, being at Safari Club International. I said, "Regis, what do you think?" She's like, she's sick as a dog and she's worn out. You know what Vegas can do to you.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, it's great, Dad. I'm going to bed. I'm eating chicken noodle soup and I'm going to bed." And it's like, so I love Mary Margaret, obviously, and Regis, but I'm like, all right, I'm not really feeling this. Then Hannah, she comes in, brings the grandkids. She comes over to the studio, and I got her alone. It's like, Hannah, I got to be selfish for a second. What do you think about this painting? Because I'm thinking about dumping it. She goes, well, I would create a little bit more perspective and depth. She said, I think it's badass. She goes, I think it's a showstopper. It's one of those pieces where you walk into the room and it's like, whoa, that's a nice piece of artwork. And that night, which was 2 nights ago, I decided, okay, I'm gonna plow on. I'm gonna see what I can do. I tweaked it a little bit, and then all of a sudden, boom, bam, it fell into place. I put it out on social media, sold for several $1,000s, just like that. Wow. And I was a day away from scrapping the whole thing. Yep. And then another set of eyeballs that encouraged and critiqued and helped, bam, within a day, man. Yep. Unbelievable. 1 day later, it's unbelievable what encouragement and incisive critique can do to somebody, again, who's driving that truck to a destination unknown.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's cool. And we need to hear that, because sometimes we get consumed in our thoughts and our wrong perspectives. Sometimes we need a fresh perspective. I remember hearing the story of Casey Treat climbing Mount Rainier, which is a serious mountain. He had to train for it and get ready, and he was going with a group of people. And I hope I get all these facts right. I'm trying to tell the story as I remember it. But as he was climbing the mountain at the end of the first day, he was sitting in his tent and he was thinking, I'm not going to make it. I feel terrible. There's no way I cannot make this. And the guy that was the guide came in and sat down in his tent and said, hey, man, you're doing great. Casey said, no, I'm not doing great. I'm not going to make it. He goes, yeah, you are. You're doing great. You are going to make it. And he says, no, I'm not. I'm telling you. And then the guy said, you don't know what you're talking about. This is what I do for a living. I do this every year. I know who's going to make it, and I know who's not going to make it. And I know where you're at, and if you're doing good, you don't know. And I'm telling you, you're doing good, and you're going to make it. And he said that helped him so much to renew his mind, and he made it. Right. Obviously, that's the great thing about the story. And sometimes you feel like you're not going to make it because you don't know what to compare it to. Sometimes you're in a situation that's so crazy you don't know you're going to make it, but you need somebody to speak into it. But then guess what? Be a champion. You see somebody else in something, man.
Right.
And you need to be the one to go in there and be the coach.
You know what the cool thing about that story is and this is part of being an encourager, is the ability to see something that the person that's in the fray, in the mix, can't see. And a lot of times when we're plowing forward with something that's righteous, that's something that's that's burning in you, it's a vision and stuff, we start getting jackhammered by all the problems and all the fires and all the other crap. And to have that ability, like Samuel, which took him a long time, plowing through David's brothers, to see a king and a shepherd boy, to see a giant slayer and a teenage ruddy-haired punk.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
That's a huge thing to do. And then, again, having the selflessness to say that kind of stuff instead of not say it.
Yep.
People say it. If you feel it, if you see it in Rich, if you see it in Zeke, that's like when I first met Zeke, it's like, dude, you're amazing. You're freaking amazing, man. He's our producer, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. And to be able
he's the magic behind the scene.
Absolutely. And to be able to speak that stuff, man, I'm telling you, as a young squab that was just starting out in ministry and business and stuff, to have that kind of guys and girls say, man, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and don't let anything keep you down, no matter how many bumps and trials you go through. That ability to precisely see and say, man, that's huge. And here's something that I just want to wrap the Warrior and Wildmen on the listener on the knuckles for again. Just going back to the whole self-obsessed me monkey aspect that a lot of us get entrenched and involved in. Is I was sitting the other day with a group of people, Rich. I mean, and I listened to them drone on, gosh, for forever. And I thought, you know what? I could literally be dying and they not know about it because they didn't ask a question. Hey. How you doing?
Hey.
I mean, I could drop dead the next day and they're like, wow, I didn't even know, he was suffering with X, Y, and Z. Well, why didn't you know it? Well, it's because you didn't ask.
That's right.
It's weird how people just sit there and you know it as a pastor. I know it as, having been in ministry and stuff. We're expected to be encouraging, and we just sit there and listen and listen and listen, and it's a soul-draining, soul-sucking because they don't give back. They're not like, hey, Rich, how you doing, man? What can I pray for you about? What do you need to table? How are we going to rock and roll this bad boy? Instead, it's just like, gimme, gimme, gimme. And we do, because that's what, we do. But, man, I'm telling you what, that is an immature place to be, especially if you're a frickin' believer, man.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Doug, that's a really good point, man. When I was at a conference in South Africa, actually, big conference, and I had finished speaking, and there were some older pastors there, and these guys have mega churches, like 18, 20,000 people, They've been around a long time. And I'm pretty used to speaking with guys like that will be speaking also at the conferences, so that doesn't faze me so much. I'm not so interested in, I'm not 25 anymore, so I'm not so interested in whether somebody thinks I'm a good speaker or not. I just try to get the job done. But we were back in the green room afterwards, and we were just sitting there, and I was just drinking coffee. And this older pastor looks over at me, and he goes, hey, young man, I want to tell you something. I said, all right. I literally met him that day. I said, okay. He says, it might not matter to you a lot. And he looked at me and he said, but I want to tell you, I'm really proud of you. And if he would have told me, man, that was a great message, that was good preaching, that was good, I don't even care. That didn't,
right.
Doug, he said that, and I thought, oh, that's nice. And I cried. I literally had tears come out, and I tried to wipe my tears real fast. And he said, "You're doing a good job, young man.
I got something in both my eyes."
Yeah, he says, "You're doing a good job, young man. I'm proud of you." And then he just kind of turned to do something else, so he didn't sit there and look at me while I'm trying to. Right. But man, I'm telling you, I didn't know that I even had that need in me. And because he was older and more mature and obviously spirit-led and knew how to be an encourager, he didn't come tell me I was a good speaker. I don't care. That guy saw something that I didn't even know I needed and spoke. And you know what? Here's what that did to me, Doug. It made me appreciate it. It made me appreciate him even more as a person. And then I thought, I need to do that
Pay
more.
It forward, buddy.
Yeah,
I
literally thought, man, I want to be more like that, you know? And so it was a great thing that I received, but I also thought, I need to do that. I need to be that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it resurrected you, if it had that kind of weight and punch with you, then guess what, man? There's a lot of riches running around.
Yeah, there's a lot of people
that
out
need
there.
to hear that.
Hey, and here's another thing. It's like, hey, why didn't you tell me something was wrong? Or why didn't you tell me? Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we're just driving on, man. We're just trying to do what we do. But, you know, we need to be conscious of the people around us, the people that God brings into our life. And you know what? It's probably almost never inappropriate to encourage somebody, other than they're in sin doing stupid stuff. But I mean, in most situations, there probably wouldn't be a reason to not encourage people.
No, and here's something that if people are hearing this in a weird way, we're not just talking about being some cheesy, shiny happy people where you've got a whole list of idioms and maxims that you just dole out like some over medicated Dr. Phil or something. We're talking about seriously putting strength into somebody. So it's not just being positive and chipper and stuff. It's like you come in there like a freaking surgeon, and you make certain that their heart just got a big mega dose, 1,000 cc's of strength and courage to go forward. That's what we're talking about, real solutions. And here's an example I want to bring up before we shut this thing down. Is Acts chapter 4. I think it's a great example of what we're talking about. The church is kicking ass. But there's also serious backlash going down. I mean, when I talk about serious
real
backlash,
persecution. Yeah,
it's not like you get banned, shadow banned on Twitter or Facebook, starting to jack with your algorithm or something like that. People are dying, man.
Yeah,
and there's economic sanctions against the church because they're like, Caesar's not Lord, Jesus is Lord, and they're like, oh yeah, really? You're not going to bow and kiss our ring? Then guess what? You're not going to work. And these people just don't need prayer. They need money.
And food.
They need money. They need food. They need homes to shelter themselves because they're being driven like a flea on a dog's back. And along comes this brother named Joseph. Out of nowhere. He wasn't one of the 12. He wasn't, selected by Jesus to be one of his boys. He's a Levite. He lives in Cyprus. And he's seeing all this stuff go down. And he's smelling what's on Paul and what's on Peter and John. And he's like, holy crap, man. And listen, Warriors and Wildmen, these men weren't popular. Oh my God. They were so controversial. If you hung out with them or got, you were going to get blogged about, that's for sure.
That's right.
If not killed.
If not arrested and killed, absolutely.
And so what Joseph does, instead of like, hey guys, I really like what you're doing here, but hey, I'm just going to pray for you. And hey, good luck with all that stuff. He sells his ranch. Man, and he gives them all the cash and like, I believe in you to such an extent, boom, here you go, you boys take the money and run, like Steve Miller sang. And you know what, they gave him a nickname. They nicknamed him, and you know this, they named him Barnabas, which means son of encouragement.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And I was sitting there thinking, queuing up for this show today, it's like, I wonder what people's nicknames are.
Hey.
Son of a beach, son of a complainer, son of a whiner, soul of a negative, or son of a negative, son of a doubt, son of a unbelief, son of a nothing, son of a dial tone. What's your nickname, Warrior and Wildman? When you walk in, when you enter the equation of a relationship, or any kind of meeting or something that needs to get done and there's opposition but many open doors, Are you the son of disbelief? Are you the son of fear? Or like Barnabas, are you the son of encouragement? Man, can you imagine, what is your nickname, Warrior and Wildmen? I wonder. I wonder.
You know what? That's really good, Doug, because we have to evaluate where we're at, and then we have to look and have a clear map of what we're going to do differently. We got to change our minds. We got to encourage ourselves. Of course, we have to get encouraged by God in the Word, but we need to encourage ourselves. And like Oswald Sanders said, he said, Lord, give me a backbone of steel against myself, the coward with the weak and pathetic voice. We need to be strong and encourage ourselves. But then at the same time, we need to look at an opportunity to encourage somebody else to make a difference. And you know what, Doug, me and you, we've had a lot of talks late at night, all different places, hunting, working on Warriors and Wildmen stuff. And we share our lives with each other. And I've never thought before, wow, you're complaining. And I don't sit there and complain to you. We talk about the situation. But you know what? Whenever I talk to you about stuff, I always feel encouraged. You're a great encourager. You always point me to the Word. You always tell me that you're going to pray for me. And you know what? That kind of stuff right there, that's a great example, Doug. That's what we need to do. We need to be there to listen to people. And I mean, not become their griping post, but at some point, we'd say, all right, let's do something about it. But we need to hear them, be there for them, point them to God, remind them that they can do something about it, remind them who they are, encourage them with the Word, and be the friend that they need.
Yeah, you look at Barnabas, man, and how he encouraged the boys in Acts chapter 4. And again, if we want to break it down, if we want to take this book that is disparaged and ridiculed called the Bible and weave it into the fabric of our lives, number one, he was selfless in his giving to badass causes. That was the son of encouragement.
That's encouraging.
So, and again, to me, what's cool about this, it takes it from just this blather of, hey, I hope it does well, to like, I'm going to make sure it does well.
That's good.
This smells like kingdom stuff. You know what? I'm investing.
Yeah. This
is what I'm going to do. Number two, and you brought it up in the Casey Treat story, Barnabas was able to see gold. Peter, Paul, John, Bartholomew, all the other guys that we never hear mentioned, these guys were hated, extremely controversial, and Barnabas like, boom! There's something on these cats, man.
Yep.
And you know what? I want a piece of it. And number three, obviously he's committed. He didn't run. Everybody else is running, man. John Mark, I think at this juncture, he took off like a bootlegger out of Alabama on a Saturday night. He's like, I'm out. I can't handle this kind of stuff. There's going to be pushback on social media.
Yeah.
And then here's how they referred to Barnabas after all this stuff. Aside from giving him the nickname, again, son of encouragement. And Warrior and Wildmen, what's your nickname? I wonder. They said that Barnabas was a man full of the Holy Spirit, full of faith, and he was a good man.
Yeah,
can you
that's
imagine?
Good stuff right there.
That's some boom, baby.
Yeah.
That is some boom.
That's
to have
how you want to be remembered right there.
Bro, talking about legacy.
That's gold.
That is pure gold. And you know what? It's not just for Barnabas. It's not just for, a smattering few people. I think to some degree, maybe a lesser degree, maybe a greater degree, I think we all ought to rock into that zone, big dog.
Yep. Agreed.
Final rant, Rich. I've been wailing too much. You can tell this is a bee in my bonnet right now, brother.
We need to get serious about this stuff, man. We need to make up our mind that I'm not going to just think about things and go, yeah, that sounds good. And I'm not going to wish I had better friends. I'm going to be a better friend. I'm going to be an encourager. I'm going to, sometimes an encouraging word's a strong word. And I'll tell this quick story and wrap it up with this for me. My wife, Annie, was at the shoulder doctor yesterday and texted me and said they're going to give me a cortisone shot in my shoulder. Anybody that's ever had a cortisone shot, that's not a trip to Disneyland. It's kind of the opposite. And so I obviously felt very compassionate about that, right? You know what I texted her back? I said, get your warrior mindset on and embrace the pain. You know why? Because sometimes encouragement isn't, hey, I'm sorry, I know. Sometimes encouragement is, I believe in you. There's a champion inside of you. Let's tap into that champion and let's do this thing because you were made to handle. This is nothing compared to what you were made for. And that story, obviously, seems like a small thing. But in life, we go through all kinds of things. Sometimes we need to tell somebody, look, man, I got you. You're a champion. It's trying to suck it up and be who God made you to be. Let's rock this thing. I'll go with you, and we're going to make it.
Yeah, you know that story and what we're talking about today about being an encourager, I think it's in the book of Judges where a couple of the tribes that made it through and didn't get waylaid in the wilderness, when they're talking about divvying up the promised land, the inheritance, which just represents, our spiritual inheritance, the vision God has for us and our family and our extended body of Christ, is that one of the guys said, hey, man, he goes, I'm going to help you get yours.
Yep.
And then he said, and yeah, when I get mine, I'm going to come and help you get yours as well. That's weird, Rich. That's really weird.
Because people don't say that.
No, and you know what? We want not only to embody that, but we want the Warrior and the Wildmen listener to be like that.
Yeah, come on.
Like, hey, I'll help you get yours. You help me get mine, and we all rock on to Never Land.
Yeah, let's not just tell the story, Doug. Let's live the story. Let's be the story. Let's let it be about us.
Do it today. Warriors and Wildmen, you run around. I was talking to an author this morning. I've read the book. I know what they're going after, and sent them a message like, oh my God, you're going to light the planet on fire with this. And I know as an author, you're like, shoot, I don't know if this is going to work. Mm-hmm. And you don't until, you take that plane and you try to get it off the ground at Kitty Hawk.
Yep.
And so I know that. And I wasn't just being generally encouraging. I was like, jeez, this is going, if this hits right and there's, the proper PR behind it, then, oh my God, it looks like the deck is stacked in your favor.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And I want you to know that. I really do. They came back with a frickin' weeping emoji or something like that.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff, man.
That's awesome, man.
What does the Warrior and Wildmen listener, subscriber need to do, Richard?
Look, man, be a man. Go to the Warriors and Wildmen podcast. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Review it. Go on Facebook, like us on there, follow us, leave a comment, review it. If you don't like us, tell us. We'll be glad to make fun of you. If you have any topics or suggestions, write them down. We'll think about it. And then stay tuned because there's some great stuff coming up in the near future. We've been talking about it even this morning before the podcast. You got to get ready. There's some awesome stuff coming ahead.